Good evening, everybody. Tonight we've got Porter Valley Ranch with Josh, and should be pretty good. He's how you doing?
Doing good. Doing good. How are you, Brian?
Pretty good. So you've got a hobby farm, huh? That's what we joke about
Doing
all the
good.
time.
Doing good. How are you, Brian? A hobby farm. Yeah. So we don't really consider ourselves homesteaders because in the homestead world, there's a lot of people that are really dedicated to the homesteading art, and I don't want to step on their toes. So we're more of a hobby farm. So small farmers.
We have 36 acres of grapes, and my dad and I always joke about having a hobby farm, or we're hobby farmers.
Uh-huh. But a
Um,
hobby doesn't mean you can't make money on it. That's my philosophy. You should be making money off of your farm. So
yeah. So let's take a moment and see who's in the chat here. We got Backroad Freedom and Evelyn Newman. Evelyn Newman put out her first video today, and it had to do with the wacky. Does anybody else know what that is? I forgot what the name of it was. It was a food challenge, and she made egg rolls. So that was pretty good. She did a good job for our first video. So congratulations.
congrats. Yeah, congrats on the first video. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah, it was better than my first video. I'll tell you that much.
Don't go back
We
and
got
watch my first video.
we got Rebecca Touched by Yarn and Jeannie Lipsky. And we'll just mention a couple of these people here. Grilling Addiction with Nick. You can't see the flame, but it's under there.
And Jeannie won a t-shirt from us, or a hat. I don't remember which one, not too long ago.
He did. I saw that. And then we got Tree Haven and No Judgment here with Tish Ross, and Hiking with Jackie Boy. Hiking with Jackie Boy and full or not full. Backroad Freedom are going to be going on a hiking trip Saturday. That's going to be awesome, and I look forward to seeing the videos come out. Little Ridge Farm. So we'll catch up with some of these people in a little bit. But so you got your wife Rebecca, and you have your three children. Zeke,
Rachel, not Rebecca.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But ironically, Rachel's twin sister's name is Rebecca.
So Rachel, I apologize.
It's all in a biblical family.
Then you got Zeke as your oldest son, and Kai is your middle child, and Jet. Mm-hmm. And they seem to be doing quite a bit working on that farm and participating and helping out.
Yeah, absolutely. We really started our farm during COVID. During the lockdown, it was mid-March, and the kids weren't going back to school. Soccer teams got shut down. Everything shut down. So that was really when we launched into our farming operation and growing it. And it was really because of our kids, because they were just sitting at home. They had nothing to do. They were bored out of their minds. And it was just us, so we started doing more farming, bringing more animals on, expanding our property for them. And so, we've really grown it with them and for them, to give them responsibility. They have business opportunities because of it. They all have different things that they do to sell and to make money off of and learn, entrepreneurialism and things like that through our farm. So it's definitely a family business, and they're not always on camera because they're so busy at school and with activities and everything like that. But we definitely do it together. Yeah.
You're definitely a busy family. You've got a lot going on. So you already had the main property and then you added on to it, or you lived somewhere else before?
No. So we've lived where we are now for about 8 years. So we had the property, we raised animals. We already had a horse and we had ibex. We've been raising Nubian ibex with my dad, going back well over 10 years. And he's got a place in Oklahoma City. So most of the animals that we got into, we were really into just exotic game. So we raised deer, we raised the mountain goats, we had awdads and, mountain sheep and things like that. But we kept them all in Oklahoma City at his place. But then, like I said, during that COVID pandemic area, we were like, hey, let's just bring them to our place. So we had to fence our property off. And with those animals, it's an 8-foot fence because they're jumpers. So we started bringing them to our property, during that spring of 2020.
Wow, that's cool. I was watching that video of Zeke when he was showing how to get, was it mites or ticks? I can't, not
Mites. Yeah, chicken mites.
He did a really excellent job on that. His way of talking to the camera and doing what he's doing, he did a great job.
We're really hoping to get him on more. He actually got involved in FFA through his school this year, and he's on one of the speech teams, with his FFA team. And they are right now they're 3-0. Every competition they've gone to, they've won. And he is now moving into where he does a speech by himself. So him and Rachel are actually working together on writing this speech, and then he'll take it to competitions and compete with it. And the topic is a lot about hobby farmers and also how to use YouTube as a digital agritourism. We see so much in our field. And of course, all the people watching, are used to seeing people like us who have a farm, and we share those stories and things on YouTube. But to a lot of people in the agricultural industry, they don't really understand what we're doing. They don't see it as a viable, business and opportunity. And from our side, we see it as a huge way to bring, education to people and just to share the importance of the things that we do, whether it's, grass-fed beef, or whether it's having a garden in your backyard or raising your own chickens. Of course, everybody knows about eggs right now. But that's what his speech is about. So we're really excited about it.
Eggs.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. So, but no, we're excited about him. We're hoping to get him on camera more going into the summer when he's got a little bit of downtime, because all of our kids really have a showman element, that we've kind of bred into them over their lifetime, because that's what we do, being our dance studio business. So we're excited about getting them more involved.
Well, it is very encouraging to see parents that are involving their kids, and their kids are getting involved doing stuff. I mean, I grew up on a farm, and we ran this place like crazy. We had a fruit stand and grapes and everything, and it was all about the family working on it.
Absolutely.
So you have Zeke, and how well is not how well, but with Kai, is he getting into stuff? What's he getting into?
Yeah, so he that's actually why we got into sheep. We had the ibex, and they're very athletic. That's a nice way to put it. Crazy would be more accurate, but they're not cuddlers. You're not going to go pet them. You mostly chase them. But whenever Kai started showing an interest in animals, he wasn't interested in the horses or the ibex or the chickens. And so that's where we got sheep. Sheep fit his personality. He's a meek kid. He's kind of quiet. He's content being in the background. And that's where we got into sheep, was because we're like, hey, these animals kind of match his personality. And we bought the first 2 baby doll sheep on our farm for him so that he could have a project. And then we all fell in love with them. So now that's our main thing is raising those sheep. So he's definitely the quietest of the 3, but he's following in Zeke's footsteps, and he'll get there. He'll be on camera shortly also. So
yeah, I like the way, I really do like the way you're running your channel, and it's more about education and talking about, for example, if you have a sheep that is not producing, and you have to deal with, is the outcome worth it to have them going to vets? And like you had this one sheep where they had what is it called, where the uterus falls out?
A prolapse.
A prolapsed uterus.
Yeah.
That was an interesting story. And, that's the reality of a farm. You've got to, it's a business, and you've got to deal with that stuff.
Yeah. The education side of it for us, I've always thought it was the vlogging side of things is kind of strange, honestly. when we started our YouTube channel, I've got to say something first. So I saw Brenda Baker on here earlier, and she said that, I met her at a Sulphur meetup, and she started her channel because we had a conversation. And to me, that's one of the coolest things I think about doing YouTube is when you hear somebody like Brenda, who, when I met her, she was like, I'm just a fan. And I was like, but you've got a story. Everybody has a story. You just got to get on camera and tell it. But I think that's one of the coolest things to me about having a YouTube channel is seeing other people kind of be inspired by what you're doing, and then them starting their own journey. But like I was saying earlier, that the vlogging thing's always been weird to me. Just that people would want to watch me do things that seem pretty normal. I grew up on a farm, like you said you did, and fixing fences or wrangling animals or doing those things was just part of everyday life. So it seems strange that people wanted to watch it to me. So I've always been more drawn into the educational side of things and teaching people. That's what Rachel and I do for a living. We teach kids gymnastics and dance and performance and sports. And so if I can kind of find a happy balance between the two of going about our day-to-day life and letting people know what it takes to live on a farm, but then also educating them along the way when we come into things that are, sometimes really hard, sometimes difficult, then that's what we want to do, kind of hit between that vlogging and educational journalism somewhere in there. So,
yeah. One of the first times I ever saw you was on a live or open. No, it wasn't open. It was a panel with MT Homestead, and Ridge Life was the host. And it's funny because I saw that, and then I went on an interview with MT Homestead, and we were talking about how you start a YouTube channel and you think you're the only one, or not, you're all by yourself, and you feel like you're into competition is what you're going to get yourself into. And really this community just pulls you in, and your only real competitor is yourself, and with your last video you put out, or what you're doing and growing and trying to evolve your channel. So yes. And Evelyn Newman, she's put her first video out this evening, and she'll probably, next thing you know, she'll have a full-on channel going. And that would be
awesome
because everybody's got something to share. That's for sure.
Yeah, that video you're talking about, I remember it was talking about the different meetups. We had gone to a meetup that the Eddy family put on down in Sulphur, and then we had gone to the Crockers meetups. That's where I met Tim the first time. We had our channel. I think we only had 4 videos out, and I connected with Chrissy over at Paragon Ridge Ranch. She lives about 10 miles from us. And she said, hey, we live close to each other. We just started a YouTube channel. You should go to this meetup that the Crockers were putting on, the very first one. So when we went, we literally I didn't even know who the Crockers were. I didn't know any of the channels. And Rusty was there. Robertson's Belly Acres were there. We met a lot of people that ended up being our friends in YouTube at that meetup. And then we went to the next meetup, which was in Sulphur, with a lot of the bigger channels. I had Arms Family, Keeping It Dutch, and Adler, and a lot of those Cross Timbers, a lot of the really big channels. So Tim was asking us the difference between the two, and both of them had a lot of benefits for sure. And the main thing that we got out of both of them was just meeting a couple people that were very like-minded, that you could lean on whenever you had questions or whenever you had problems, because it does feel like a lonely journey a lot of times, especially when you're starting out, that you put all this work in and you film something and you post it and you just wonder, is anyone ever going to see this? Is anyone going to like it?
I know the first 9 months of my channel, I knew of the Crockers. I watched the Crockers before I even started my channel. And some of these channels were, they're the ones that inspired me to start my own channel. And, but at that Shoot Dang meetup, Pooch from Full Blown Country, he had just started his channel, and look at him now. He's on Family Night too. And He's doing well, and everybody loves him. And you've
Yeah.
got Carrie. Carrie was just a subscriber at the time. She was not. She started her channel afterwards, and she's doing well. And there was one more that I wanted to bring up.
See,
Byron.
Narrowway Farms is on here. Narrowway
Yeah.
Farms was at the first meetup we went to also.
I met him at Shoot Dang as well, and he's been on my live as well.
Yeah.
That was a good live. Yeah, if you want to go back and check it, people. Who was the other one I wanted to shout out? Byron. Byron had one video when he went to Shoot Dang. In fact, just before that, he hadn't even had an account on YouTube. So he just kind of went to this meetup and he got pulled in.
Yeah. Hey, Zeke, come here. Zeke just walked by. So you can't hear. I've got headphones in. So this is Zeke. If you guys don't know, my son Zeke. Zeke, Brian, and all the people here just said what a great job you did on your video with the chicken mites, which we actually filmed like a year and a half ago. So I promised them that you're going to make more videos. So
that was a great video. Even my dad and I sat there and watched the whole thing, and we loved it.
So now you have to make more, or you're making me a liar right here on this live with Brian, and I don't want you to do that.
Okay, I'll
make more videos. That link in the chat, that would be great. What was the title of it?
All right, well,
go to bed.
Thanks, I got you.
I don't remember what it was. Something about chicken mites. I'm sure it had some clickbaity title. You know how us YouTubers are.
Go to Porter Valley Ranch and the chicken mites.
That's it. Yeah, you'll find it somewhere. And Brenda says hello. He says hi, Brenda.
So Redbird Farm, am I correct in saying that Redbird Farm changed their name to Freedom Redbird? Is that right? Mm-hmm. Okay. There's Steve C. and Mary Ann Bilmer and Butler Family Farm.
Paul Honeyman says that's emotionally blackmailing your kids. Isn't that the definition of parenting? We emotionally blackmail them. Sometimes for gain and sometimes for just to make them better people.
Hendrickson Family Farm. Yeah, I like to at least read off the name. Did I say Tree Haven? Tree Haven's my buddy. He's in here. He's doing knocking. Man, did anybody see his premiere, 2 weeks ago or a week ago? That was an awesome premiere. I forget the title name of it, but I'm sure most of the people in here know what I'm talking about. If you want to put that up on and in the chat. So your land is not very typical. You have ridges and hills and cliffs and all kinds of stuff, don't you?
Yeah. When we bought our property, we lived in a normal neighborhood. We had our third son on the way. We knew we needed a bigger house. And when we found out it was a third boy, I told my wife, I said, we've got to have land. We've got to have property that these boys can go basically live the way I grew up. You know, we can run and play and fish and do all those things. And so I had a youth minister in high school that actually built the house that we live in now. And I said, you know, what would be crazy is if we could find a house like theirs that's really close to town, but has the land and has the space. So we made a few phone calls and it turned out that this house we bought was it was vacant. The people who had bought it, they had moved. And so it had been sitting here for over a year with no one living in it. And it was in pretty bad shape. So we got a great price on it. But the land, when we first got it appraised, they actually gave $0 of value to 16 of the acres because they were off in a valley and there was no access. There was no access road to them. So before we even closed on the house, I brought in some heavy machinery and my dad and I bulldozed roads down into that property so that we could get access into the land. But right behind our house, there's about a 30-foot cliff that drops straight off. So it's pretty crazy.
I see that your buildings for your animals are right on the edge of the cliff. I'm like, man, I hope he doesn't have to work on that wall because I was gonna do it.
Yeah. It works well for filming because all of our infrastructure is up here on the hill, and then the animals are able to go, off the hill and go down in the valley, which is where the flat land is. So, but it keeps everything close, which is nice.
So do you want to tell us why you don't have goats?
Oh, I'm afraid of how many people are in here. 40. There's 40. There's
Everybody has a goat here. So
49 people in here, and probably 42 of them have goats. So all I'm going to say is this. If you read the Bible, Brian and I had this conversation earlier. If you read the Bible, there are a lot of mentions of sheep. There are a lot of mentions of shepherd. David was one of God's favorite people, right? And he was a shepherd. Show me one person in the Bible who raised goats. I do not think that goats, no goat guy. There we go, Trey. I like it. Goats were meant to just run wild, and that's why you can't contain them. So my grandpa was a farmer, and he always said, if you want to keep goats, you have to have a waterproof fence. And I don't think that is far from the truth.
A waterproof?
You can't keep them in. A waterproof fence. He said that's the only way to keep a goat in.
Yeah, I get it. But do you still have a horse? Did I don't know, remember if I saw that in an older video or a newer one.
No, so we had a horse when we first moved to this property. When Zeke was little, he did a lot of horse shows. He rode them in the Western pleasure shows and things like that. And then as he started getting older, he lost interest in riding the horse. So we actually moved it over. Some of our friends still had, his name was Lightning. So some of our friends took him and they ride him almost on a daily basis, which we just thought was a better fit for him. He needed that interaction, and it opened up a lot of space for us to bring in other animals because horses eat a lot and they take up a lot of room. So we could bring in other animals to that place.
Good evening, Possum Run Ranch, Mama V. Yeah, and then of course you have the sheep. Do you still have pigs?
We don't have pigs.
I got mixed up. I have some.
Yeah.
I watched some old videos and new videos, and now I can't remember what I saw and what.
So our staples are, the sheep. We raise two different kinds of sheep. They're both miniature sheep. We raise baby doll sheep and Harlequin sheep. Harlequins are an extremely rare breed of sheep. There's less than 100 purebred Harlequins in the United States, well, in the world technically. And then we have the Nubian ibex, and then exotic chickens. But then, like most farms, there's kind of a revolving door of other animals coming and going. We learned that we don't like pigs. We like to eat them. We don't like to keep them. So if we bring a pig onto our farm, it's for a very specific purpose and as short a time span as possible.
Yeah. We had one pig when I was a kid, and it wasn't too healthy looking when we first got it. So what's the deal with if the tail's straight, is something wrong with the pig or something like that?
I'm not sure. I've never kept them long enough to know.
But he didn't last very long. He passed. That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
You definitely have chickens. You have black is it Samani?
The I am Samanis. Yeah, we've got I am Samanis and Silkies. So there's a thing, Zeke's business is called Zeke's Beaks. So he raises show quality silky chickens. He raises those and sells them. And then we get into different exotic breeds. The I am Samanis are the newest thing we have, which they're the ultra black. We had one die, and my inquisitive mind, I dissected it to make sure that all the fables were true. And sure enough, they have, black bones, meat, organs, everything is jet black except their eggs. Their eggs look completely normal, just a cream colored egg.
Wow. That is something, to tell you the truth. And then you have dog breeding too?
Yeah, so we have livestock guardian dogs. We raise Akbosh dogs, and then Zeke is getting into raising Australian shepherds. So he's been doing the chickens for a while, and he actually started working with his ag teacher at school on getting into breeding dogs. And so he's going with the Australian shepherds just because they're familiar and they also serve a purpose. he bought his first female and brought her onto our property, and she immediately started herding our sheep. She didn't know where they were supposed to go, but she got them everywhere as fast as possible. It was pretty cool to see it work.
Lone Cowboy Adventures is in here as well. And did I say Oak? I mentioned Oak. I didn't know if I saw her come in. If anybody in here does not know of Porter Valley Ranch, you need to go over and check out his channel, subscribe, leave comments, and make that subscription stick. You can do that with my channel too. I'd more than appreciate it. But yeah, he's definitely got a good channel, and I know some of you might not know who he is. I find that hard to believe, but we can't ever assume.
we went through a period really about the last year, almost all of 2022. We were very inactive on YouTube for a couple of reasons, but we lost a lot of traction that we had going. And then we also kind of refocused our channel this year, just on some different things. So, but we definitely have a lot of people. I see a lot of new faces and a lot of new names and a lot of familiar faces and names over here in the comments. So we would welcome anyone. We love new people and getting to know people on our channel.
So let's talk about your missions trips that you take once in a while. Or what is it? Once a year you go and you do an adoption situation or work with the adoption.
Yeah. So
you explain.
Hold on. Sorry, I planted a bunch of blackberries yesterday, and my allergies are going crazy. So
we'll forgive you.
So we started, let me think here, 2014. We started kind of a thing with our church headed towards Africa. And it really just took us by surprise that we were so interested in doing foreign missions. We were always in local missions, doing a lot of disaster relief in our area, chainsaw ministries. But when our church started talking about Africa, it really just stirred something in Rachel and I's heart. And we knew that we wanted to be involved. We knew that we wanted to go. So I went on a trip in 2018, was our first time to go over there. And the place that we go is in Ivory Coast, which is in Western Africa. And I was telling Brian earlier, it takes about 48 hours to get there. 5 different planes and then an 8-hour bus ride inland to get where we go. But the first time I stepped off the bus in Tonda, Ivory Coast, I realized that no one else was going to go there. No one else was going to that area, and they needed help. They needed, the gospel, but they also needed help with a lot of humanitarian things, with water, with health, with medical issues. And so it really just stirred our heart. And then since then, we started an orphanage over there. We have 24 kids that live on our property, around the clock for the majority of the year. And it's just one of those things that has grown over the years. Rachel is currently the director of that program. And it's a really neat thing for us to be able to teach our kids that we're not the only people that matter. There are people all over the globe who have, needs and wants, but also they have the same heart that we do. And so we can connect with them. Our kids play soccer and those kids play soccer. Rachel actually planted. Okay, so here's something interesting, a YouTube connection. Gardening with Leon. If you guys know who Leon Sloan is, Gardening with Leon, he does the wicking tubs system. So we actually took the wicking tub system. We went and met with Leon and took it to Africa to help them be able to grow crops over there, because obviously drought is a massive problem in Africa. So we were able to implement some of those systems on our property in that village in Africa about how to grow crops in the middle of a drought through using those wicking tub systems. So it was a pretty cool thing just to be able to kind of tie all of the areas of our life together. So
So tell them what you told me about why would you go all the way over there when they're explain that. Because it's a good answer.
Yeah, we go because we're called, and because sometimes when your eyes get open to a problem, it becomes your burden, to help fix or to help share your information or education with those people. And it was abundantly clear when I stepped off that bus in Tonda that no one else was going there. If I gave you $1 million, Brian, to go find Tonda, Ivory Coast, you couldn't find it. It's not on a map. It doesn't exist other than to that village. So when we went there, it was just clear that we need to go. So,
yeah.
So the song, I've seen a couple mentions of the song. If for those of you that don't know, one of our first ventures on YouTube was actually writing a song about some of the channels that inspired us to start our YouTube channel. I was in a rock band in what I call my former life, and we toured as a Christian rock band. And so I wrote a song about some of the channels that kind of inspired us and a little bit of our story. But I told Brian, I'm not going to sing the song on this live. A couple of reasons. Number one, I don't have a guitar with me. And number two, because I may or may not have a special version of it working up for the next meetup I attend.
But what is the title? What is the title? Can you think of what the title is for people to go check it out?
There's a couple different ones. The YouTube Homestead song or the YouTube song, we'll pull it up. It was kind of one of those. It was a spur of the moment thing. I was sitting out in the sheep pen with a guitar and kind of wrote a song and thought it was kind of neat. So I played it and it really went over big. At the time we had maybe 1,000 subscribers, maybe. And it was the first little glimpse of like, oh man, there's a lot of people watching and commenting on this thing for us. And so I took that, made it into a full length song and sang it with my brother-in-law, John. And then I actually went and recorded a full band version of it with one of my friends also. More than anything, just to get back in the recording studio, because I hadn't been in the recording studio in 15 years. So it kind of let me scratch that itch a little bit.
If anybody can find that video and put it up in the chat, that would be good. And I'll put it up on the main screen. I
think like anything though, anything you put on film, if you go back and watch videos you put out a year ago or 2 years ago, your influences change, your tastes change, your interests change, or like in our case, our animals change. So it's kind of funny to go back and listen to it because a lot of the channels mentioned in that song would be completely different today just because of the way things evolve. I think there's 4 or 5 channels that were originally mentioned that don't even exist anymore. They just kind of fell off the face of the earth. So it's always interesting.
Yeah, our channels and our community is constantly going to be evolving. Even the way I do I've been thinking in my head how I'm going to be doing my lives in the near future. And I will always probably want to do a full-on guest spot like I'm doing right now and open mics. But I'm also thinking about doing some, when I see 2 channels that are doing collaborations with each other and to bring those 2 channels up and get the backstory on what was going on. And I just, there's a couple of things that I've been thinking about doing on my live that might change it up a little bit. Last week was crazy. It was crazy last week. The green room was full at all times, and I was trying to be polite and move everybody through because I love every one of these people and I wanted to give them each some time without having 6 different people on the panel all talking over each other. So as this grows, if it does grow bigger, I know I'm going to have to do something to bring some control to it, because I did not have control over that live last week.
Well, if
But
you're interested in a debate, if you want to have a debate, you find a goat guy, and you let me as the sheep guy debate the goat guy. How's that?
hey, you find the biggest goat person, and I'll have you on for that.
There we go.
That
Sheeps
sounds
versus
like a good
goats.
point. I was, it was Backroad Freedom that I was having this discussion with, because Backroad Freedom, Justin and Kevin of Hiking with Jackie Boy, have been talking about doing collaborations, and they already did one, and it was excellent to watch both of them, and because they each did their own video of the same event, and the combination of the two were an excellent complement. They complemented each other very well. And I was talking to him about, somewhere in the near future, I might just have them on just to talk about their collaborations, because they're doing one this weekend too, and a couple of other ones that they're thinking of doing. So that should be fun.
Yeah.
They've got,
anytime you can get a bunch of YouTubers in a room, it's always fun.
yeah. But I'd like to, I'd like to do panels, but I like to keep it no more than four on the panel at a time. Otherwise, it gets really muddy and people are talking over each other, and
sure,
But yeah, I'm looking forward to making some of those changes, and I hope that everybody likes those changes that I make.
Yeah, for sure.
I know that our new land, he's coming up on my lot. I haven't, we've agreed to do it. We haven't set a date yet. So he's going to be coming soon, but next week is going to be an open mic again. And, I'll see how I'm going to run that. I've asked Byron to do it, but if he can't do it, I'm going to ask, Full Blown Country Pooch if he's interested in doing it. But Byron's got first dibs on that. But he has things that he does on Wednesday night that sometimes he's not available. So we'll see. It'll be an open mic at any rate next week. So what are you?
I see some people over here. I feel like they're trying to get me fired up, Brian. They're down in my sheep over here. They're saying they're more work. I don't know. We're gonna have to do it. We're gonna have to do a debate.
But I don't have a mic at the moment. That was this is a channel that people have been telling me I need to check out, and I just haven't gotten to them yet, but I will. I want to check them out, because videos, channels that are from Alaska are kind of cool.
Yeah, I've always been intrigued by that, for sure. I've always wanted to go to Alaska, but I'm intrigued by people that live in Alaska, because it just seems so harsh, such harsh conditions. I mean, your conditions in New York are much harsher than I would consider our conditions here in Oklahoma, but you go to Alaska and it's just, that's crazy to me.
We've had nothing here this year. We had one snow where we got 16 inches and it piled on fast, and it stayed for a while, and then it melted. And then we had one other real snow that was like 6 inches, and the rest was all just dustings or rain.
Is that rare for you though?
That is it is a very odd year, but it's an odd year for everybody. Getting back to the Alaska type videos, Sean in Alaska was somebody I wanted to have on, and he also agreed to do it. But the week I chose to have him was the week that he was in Alaska trying to put insulation in his house. He says, I can't do it this week. I got to get some insulation in my house.
That seems important.
Yeah, that would be pretty important. And he also had open holes in his house from no windows too.
Wow.
Don't want to, what are you saying? Don't want to shave sheep either. Oh, he must be going at it in this chat here about sheep and goats. Did you freeze on me? Hello. Is it just you that's going fuzzy, or is it me too? Because I was having internet trouble myself before this live.
I think it just paused for a second, but I think it's back up.
Yeah.
So, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay. So Narrowways says he didn't want to shave the sheep. So our the way we do it, we bring somebody in once a year, and this guy travels all over the area, and he shears our sheep, and it's another revenue stream. We haven't ever actually done anything with our wool other than just use it for some chicken bedding and things like that. But this year I found someone here locally who actually processes the wool and, gives it to people that can spin it into yarn and make things out of it. And there is crazy pricing for those kinds of things on Etsy stores and stuff like that. So I'm not going to say how much money I think we're going to make, but I'm really interested in seeing off of the 30 sheep here on our property how much we can make, because it is another revenue stream off of those animals, off what is basically just a waste product, by shaving that wool off of them. So stay tuned. It's going to be a video about that coming up in the spring. I'm really interested.
If there's anybody who hasn't been checking out Lindsay's channel, Into the Mist, she's doing a bang up job, and her videos are getting better and better every week, and she puts them out. I don't know what time she puts them out, but it's every Sunday at this point, I think.
I will check it out, Nick.
We'll go check that out, and if anybody wants to put her link up, that would be great. And Grilling Addiction with Nick. Have to move my beard so you can see his flame. Go check his channel out. He's cooking on. He doesn't even have any special grill or anything. He's using an old Weber, that circle or that round Weber grill that you had when your father used to barbecue.
I can't watch his channels. I get too hungry.
Yeah. Did I say hi to Possum Run Homestead, Mama V? Yes, I did. Hi again. And Jackie Saylor.
Jackie Saylor. Hi, Jackie.
I've never seen her, so she's new to me. Thank you for coming. So what is the main thing you're working on right now? Is there a season thing going on with sheep or?
We're in full blown lambing season right now. We have
7 babies.
We have 27 ewes who are expecting. Wow. And for those of you that don't know, so Rachel and I own a dance studio and a gymnastics gym, as our main business. We have 3 boys who are very active. I coach their soccer teams. We serve at church, and then of course Rachel works with Africa, and we do things with that. So we're extremely busy people. I don't like to use the word busy. I like to use the word active people. But we are constantly on the go with our family doing things. And the funniest thing about this time of lambing season for us and our friends is that Rachel and I both have on our phones, we have links to the cameras in our barn. And we are, every moment of downtime, we're checking those cameras to see who's having a lamb, because it's not often, but sometimes they need help. They need assistance. And so we're always looking for something that looks out of place. And I've told all of my employees that, hey, if I run in and say lambing emergency, you're going to have to cover for me, because I've got to go home and take care of whatever's happening at home. So we had 6 lambs born this week, and that's just the beginning. We're expecting a lot more to be hitting the ground. So it's a very stressful time, but also a really fun time, because especially with the Harlequins, they're a spotted breed of sheep. And so you never know what they're going to look like. So it's always really fun when they're born, just to see what that ram and that ewe produced as far as colors and things like that. But it's also very stressful because, I mean, you wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, we're checking the cameras to make sure nothing's going wrong that we need to go assist with. So it's kind of a 24/7 thing right now.
Have you been having mostly success with that and less complications than?
Yeah. We had a really rough season last year. We brought in a lot of new animals to our farm. We wanted to build up our flock. And so we brought in a lot of new animals, and we've got a lot of videos about that when you bring new animals in, especially when they're breeding age or adult animals, there's usually a reason someone was selling that animal, and sometimes it's not a positive thing. So some of the things that have problems whenever they're having offspring are just hereditary, and sometimes you're inheriting that problem and you don't know until you actually go through it with that animal. And so we had a pretty rough season. We lost a lot of lambs. We had to assist with a lot of births. But then we also learned a lot about nutrition. There's a channel named Vineyard Farms. If you guys haven't ever seen them, if you are in ruminant animals with sheep and goats, this guy, his name's Tim, and he's almost a veterinarian, that puts out multiple videos a week and just talks about nutrition and about medications and things like that. So we really revamped our nutritional program for our animals, because there are certain stages of pregnancy that they have different nutritional needs. So we really paid a close attention to that this year. And so far it's been a lot more successful. The lambs are not as big at birth, which makes them a lot easier to have. And so that's something that I think we made a mistake of in the past, was feeding too much in that third trimester. And the lambs were getting so big that they were really having trouble birthing, which was, again, it's hard. It's one of those things that when you lose a lamb, it's just such a hard thing for us and our family, to be a part of. So we learned and we corrected a lot of those mistakes. And so far it's been paying off.
So about how many
breeding chickens? So we have about 20 that I would consider laying that we would sell, mostly silkies, some egg layers, egg layer breeds, but mostly silkies that will be selling either the eggs or the offspring of, going into the summer. So a lot, too many, according to Rachel.
Sheep is a good curry.
Yeah.
Goat.
So people ask us a lot. We did a thing recently called the Homestead Documentary with Melissa K. Norris. If any of you guys know her, she's kind of a pioneer in our homesteading field and puts out a lot of information. And the main question we got asked was, are your sheep for meat or are they for fiber? Fiber being, what turns into wool and fabrics. And I laugh, but actually our sheep are more for Instagram. They are more of a novelty breed of sheep. So we don't eat our sheep, and we don't, until this year, sell our fiber. We just put them on and sell them mostly to other breeders, people who are looking for like petting zoos and things like that, or people who want to put them on Instagram because they're really cute. So, and yeah, thank you, Nick. That's awesome. Ministry is a huge part of who we are and what we do. I'm a third generation, preacher's kid. And, we learn a lot of life lessons through our farm that we feel like strengthen our faith. And we love sharing that, in our videos, but also just in our daily life, whether it's the kids we teach at the gym or whether it's the kids in Africa. Ministry is who we are. So
Heather just subscribed to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
So if you get one subscriber out of this whole thing, you're doing good.
Hey, if I can get one, I'll take one. We're always open.
So let's talk about the dance studio. You mentioned it a couple of times, but you didn't really say a whole lot about it yet. How did that get started, and how has it evolved or changed over the years?
Yeah, Rachel and I got married in 2014. I was just coming off the road. I was a musician, and we were 2004, excuse me, not 2014. 2004, I was coming off the road. I was traveling with a Christian rock band and got into, I needed a real job is what she told me. So I was a graphic designer. I had gone to college to be a graphic designer, and she was in public relations. But she had danced her whole life. She danced in college at a school called Kilgore College, which is down in Texas. The world famous Rangerettes, which is I think they're like the world's nice. We got two, at least two. So
send me my check.
Right. So if you as a New York person, the Rangerettes are in the Macy's Day Parade every year. Them and Santa are the only thing that are in Macy's parade every year. I'm pretty sure I'm right on that. And so Rachel danced. But when we got married, she was working in a PR firm. I was working graphic design. We put on our suits every day and went to work. And about 6 months in, it just didn't feel right. It felt like we were, making a living and working hard, but not doing what we were supposed to do. And so Rachel's hometown dance studio that she grew up in was actually closing down. Her dance teacher was, getting older, and she just said, I can't do this anymore. So she was going to close it down. And so it opened up this void, in her hometown of, that dance instruction. So we had been married for, 6 months, and we basically quit her job and moved and started our own business. And we have been self-employed entrepreneurs ever since. So,
Three,
man. If we get to 5, I'm gonna have to buy you dinner.
Hey, we're gonna meet each other.
There you go.
You're going to the meetup, right? You said that.
Yeah. We're looking forward to it. My grandpa lives about a quarter mile from where the meetup is. Great. And I grew up on Lake Tenkiller, fishing and wakeboarding and jumping off those cliffs. And my son was baptized about a half mile from where the meetup's going to be. Like that's my old stomping ground. So I'm really excited about being back there. Man, I have to buy you dinner now, and maybe sell a sheep.
Sell a sheep.
Oh, that's it. All right. I'll send you a gift card. It's gonna be cheaper than an airplane ticket.
I want a t-shirt.
I'll send that too. So, favorite Christian rock band of all time.
This is the whole point.
All right. Wait, put this one up. Favorite Christian rock band of all time is Audio Adrenaline. No question about it. The greatest Christian rock band of all time is DC Talk, but my personal favorite is Audio Adrenaline. We did a lot of stuff with them. We followed them around for years. And so definitely Audio Adrenaline. If you've never heard of them, you need to go back and listen to their stuff. And also, so Mark Stewart is their lead singer, and he's got a really cool story. He was a Christian rock star traveling around with this band, and then he lost his voice. Like literally, he can't hardly even put together a full sentence anymore. He can't speak anymore. But he now has mission work all over the world of dealing mostly with orphans. So he was able to continue that ministry. It's a really cool book. So, yes. I lost count.
That's 6 that I know of.
That's awesome. Jimmy Houston. Treasure Hunter says that Jimmy Houston knows me. So I've got a really funny Jimmy Houston story that I'm going to save for later, closer to the meetup. But me and Jimmy Houston go way back, and we actually have some beef. It's pretty funny.
That's awesome. We did, Brian. What's we did? Oh, put the link up. Yeah, there's a link right there, people. If you want to go subscribe.
Treasure Hunter is from Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm in Sapulpa, between Sapulpa and Jinx. I'm sure you know where that is.
You guys all live next to each other.
It really is the hub of YouTube.
Jealous. I'm like 19 hours away from all these people that I love to talk to all the time. So you guys are privileged. I'll be at the Mid-America meetup. Oh, that's right. I did hear that Alaska's Last Frontier Homestead's going. That's quite the hike. That's a further hike than I have to go, and I'm sure it's a little bit more treacherous too.
Yeah. It's
But
awesome.
they'll probably be flying Miriam Beamer. Boom. Bimler. She subscribed. Brian, you need to move to Oak.
There's not a lot of vineyards here in Oklahoma. So maybe you could start one of those. So question for you. Have you ever put sheep on your vineyard?
No, but we did have a stinky goat.
So Rachel and I went to Napa a couple years ago for her sister's 40th birthday. And it was the first time I'd heard about it, that they use in Napa, they use baby doll sheep, which are one of our breeds of sheep we raise, to clear the underbrush and the weeds underneath the vineyard, because they can't stand up on their back legs. So they actually eat all the weeds and stuff underneath, the grapes. And I had never heard of that before. But then last summer, we sold a bunch of our sheep to a vineyard in Dallas that was going to use them for that, to eat everything underneath the grapes, because they can't reach high enough to actually get into the fruit. I thought that was interesting. See, you're going to be a sheep guy. We're going to make you a sheep guy.
No. I'm not into that, because we had the goat, and yes, you probably would say that the goats are harder to do, but we had a goat, and we thought it would be a good idea to put it in the cherry orchard so he could clean around the trees, because at the time all we had was some push mowers. Mm-hmm. And that goat stunk. So we had him way out in the cherry orchard, and you'd be working on the fruit stand, and that goat, you can smell it if the wind blew past you just right.
Yeah.
And then I think it was Pure Okie that was telling, either Pure Okie or Linda that was telling us why, and that's gross.
Yes.
So no goats for me. No thank you.
Whether those goats early or they get disgusting, for sure.
Jackie Saylor, I live in Western New York.
Right across the bridge. Okay, hold on. Pure Okie lives right across the bridge from the meetup. So if you know where the old Del Rancho restaurant was, I'm sure you do. My grandpa lives across the street from that. So I'm sure you're right there in the area, right there by Cherokee Landing. Paul says he's going to, Paul, you don't want to buy my sheep for food. They're expensive. They're expensive sheep. Or maybe it's a delicacy. I don't know.
No. Yeah, that would be a far travel for him to send a sheep to you, Paul, seeing since you're like over the pond.
That's where baby dolls came from.
Read Paul's message. Paul Honeyman's message. Let's see. The Vineyard Farmhouse. Brian, Josh, you owe Brian a dinner you owe Brian a dinner, as I have seen at least 15 subscribers during this live.
That's awesome. There you go.
Well, I hope you're subscribing to me too.
That's right. Yeah, I'll have to.
That's awesome. That makes me feel good to know that it's working, that somebody's getting something out of this.
Yeah, hopefully we'll send some people your way too.
Other than the amazing entertainment that we have to offer. Let's see. We read that already. I think you need to organize a Woodstock YouTubers meetup. Yeah, right. Well, just everybody come on, we'll just
Are you by Woodstock?
no, Woodstock was in. You know what? I don't remember where that was. I mean, it was probably. I don't. I know it's Woodstock, but I don't remember. Is that close to the Peak Skills or something like that? I can't remember. I'm just talking out of my mouth.
I should know. I don't.
Subscribe to you. Oh, I got one. A few weeks ago, she subscribed to me.
Jackie, I think Jackie's been on. I've seen her name. She's been on our channel for a long time. So, yeah, that's one of the coolest things to me about YouTube is just how you see people, and it's interesting how everybody comes together. Like how one person finds out about another channel, and then when you put out videos every week, they kind of become part of your family, and it's just a strange mix of how everybody got onto that channel or into that community. So I think that's one of the coolest things about things like this is, people come to me from your channel and then I pass them on to somebody else. And, hopefully everybody just, benefits. So it's really neat.
Well, you're welcome in, Jackie Saylor. Narrowway Farm says, is this supposed to be some kind of a...
Well, I don't know because the Tulsa Oilers are a local hockey team. But they also just started an indoor football team, and we are so non-creative here in Oklahoma that we started an indoor football team, arena football team, and we also called them the Tulsa Oilers. How confusing is that? Of course, you guys do that in New York too. So, hey, 3 Mississippi.
Good evening, 3 Mississippi. That's probably Mike, because I would think that Sid was in bed already. She usually goes to sleep around 9 Central.
I should be too.
Well, let's see. What time is it? Oh, you're good. You made it the whole hour. If you feel like you need to go to bed.
Oh, I'm just joking. I don't
you're
sleep
just
much.
Joking.
So
let's see if we
3
can get more questions out of this chat.
3 Mississippi had Tim and Come On at their house recently. I saw that. So I've spent a lot of time around those two guys. That I'm sure that was a party. That was a good time.
You may be late, Andale, but it's always nice to see you. You're such a sweetheart. And newsflash: thousands without power in California. What's that all about?
Haven't heard. I had to quit watching the news.
I don't watch it anymore either. It just always got me irritated. Tulsa Oilers and this must be like a lot in the English.
I don't know. We're NBA fans. We're Oklahoma City Thunder fans here. So we've had season tickets to the Thunder games for years, and then we take our kids and perform at halftime for the Thunder game. So we're basketball people. Most people in Oklahoma are football fans. I played football growing up. My dad actually played football at Baylor, but we're a basketball family. So
Jeannie Lipsky said her power has been out for 6 hours today in California, Southern California. What is that about, Jeannie? I mean, I didn't see the news, so I don't know what's going on.
Feels like there's always a disaster going on in California somewhere.
Why was it out? And that's what Grilling Addiction with Nick wants to know is why. Why? I don't know. I don't live there anymore. Stay safe, everyone. Sorry, Brian. I'm out of here. Paul Honeyman's leaving us. It is like 4 o'clock in the morning there. And he gets up early. I don't even know how he gets any sleep because he's on these lives, all these lives, and then he goes to bed late at night, and then he's got to get up. Callie is one big disaster, says 3 Mississippi. It's because he just left it, 7 months ago? Yeah. I think you guys got out of there just in time because it may have been getting bad, but I wouldn't want to be there now either, for sure.
Yeah, I grew up going to, my dad was on the board of a seminary in San Francisco. So I grew up going to San Francisco, every year or a couple times a year. And the seminary was in Sausalito, which is, just like northeast of San Francisco. And as a kid, like 12 to 15 years old, we would ride our bikes from Sausalito all the way across the Golden Gate Bridge and down to Fisherman's Wharf. And now, I mean, it feels like I wouldn't even walk down the street in San Francisco by myself. So it's crazy how much it's changed, and not for the better.
Does it not get 39 degrees in California very often, I guess?
Not in Southern California.
Man, I lived in Southern California till I was 10, but I just don't remember a whole lot about the weather stuff. I remember some really hot days though. That's for sure.
Yeah. We spent a lot of time in like Palm Springs, Palm Desert, down in that area. And I just remember waking up in the morning, it's 108 degrees and it just felt crazy.
Oh, she just let's see. Shannon Long reminded me of t-shirts in general. There are a few people who won last week a t-shirt from me, and I will be going to my printer tomorrow and setting that up, and I'll get those out as soon as I can. Just in case you guys are wondering, I am trying to forget as much about California as I can. Well, good luck with that.
Good night, Brenda.
I gotta go. Alaska's Last Frontier is getting out of here. Don't blame you. Well, Josh, I really enjoyed this live. It was a great live.
Yeah,
a lot of good stuff to say, and you got some subscribers, and
yeah, absolutely,
a lot of fun.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on.
I'm trying. Okay. Sherman Family Farm's still here. Well, so I look forward to getting to know you more, and especially when we go to meet at the meetup.
Yep. Oh, for anyone going to the meetup. So I told Brian this earlier. If you're going to the meetup and you're not from Oklahoma, you need to go back and watch where the red fern grows, not the Dave Matthews one. The original movie of where the red fern grows was filmed in Cookson, and Cookson, Oklahoma is now actually underwater because that became Lake Tenkiller, but that's where that movie was filmed. And there's a little restaurant called Jency's, which is probably 10 miles from where the meetup's going to be, but that is the general store in that movie. It's still there, and they converted it into a restaurant. So a little bit of homework before you come to Oklahoma. If you're coming for the first time, you need to watch where the red fern grows, because that is exactly where the meetup is going to be.
Never too late, Mike. I'm happy that you came in. I have not mentioned anything about the Four Beardsmen that's on tomorrow night. That includes Maddie from Backwoods Mindset, me, 12 Stones Ranch, that's Byron, and Full Blown Country, as in Pooch. And we'll be doing a panel. Well, every month we do it, and it's Pooch's turn. So it is on his channel, Full Blown Country, at 7 Central. So I'd like to see you guys there tomorrow night, and that should be a lot of fun too. I have no idea what Pooch has planned for us. We usually, whoever is responsible for the live is the one who sets up whether we're going to have a game or whatever. He hasn't told me nothing, so I don't know. No, read the book first. Read the book first. The book is always the best. Come on, click up there. No, read the book first. You can watch the movie after that, but you have to read the book before you watch the movie. Well, that probably would be a good idea because, and I will try to do that before. So you're talking about the old version of Where the Red Fern Grows.
Yes. The original
book.
Yeah.
And you said that it's partially underwater.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
that where they actually filmed it.
Yeah, if you can dive, what is that? Like scuba diving, you can actually dive down, and a lot of those structures are still down there, probably 15, 20 feet underwater. You can go down and you can see those buildings under the lake.
Yes, he is, Mike.
Yes.
You're gonna want to watch this video in the replay because he explains all of what he does with his sheep.
Yes, I have sheep and Nubian ibex, which are mountain goats, and I'm a sheep guy for sure. Somebody asked if I run dogs. Yeah, we have livestock guardian dogs that are with our animals, with our sheep. Ours is an Akbosh, which is, it kind of looks like the mix between a Great Pyrenees and a Lab. So.
Thanks for coming in, Miriam Bimler. I'm sorry, I mess that up every time. Nice to have you here, and you have a good night. Don't mind me, I'm talking on the mic. And
Mississippi says, Free Mississippi, starting a flock of sheep. All right. Well, if you haven't raised sheep and you need anything, let me know. I'm not an expert. I don't know if anybody's an expert when it comes to animals, but we've definitely made a lot of mistakes and learned from a lot of our mistakes. And we're pretty passionate. So my wife, Rachel, actually writes for Hobby Farm magazine, and she's their sheep columnist. So she writes a lot of articles. And because of that, we get to interview a lot of people that are way smarter than us. So we get to interview professors and veterinarians about different things that have to do with sheep. So that's kind of one of the fascinating perks of her being a journalist, is that we get to, if we have a problem, we get to go to someone who is much smarter than us and ask them about our problem, and then, share that knowledge through the magazine. So
Sherman Family Farm got his first lamb last week.
Congratulations.
Yay.
Welcome to the club.
I am still here, Brian says. Rebecca, touched by iron. Speaking of that, anybody who has a hat from Rebecca, you are to bring it to the meetup, because we're going to take a big group picture for her, and so she can have as many people all in one shot with all her hats. So be sure to bring it if you've got one. I know she's working on some of them right now for people who didn't get one yet. So maybe if you were nice, you're on her list. So I think we've covered a lot of stuff, and you definitely need to go check out Porter Valley Ranch, because it's a good channel. It's a good family-friendly channel, good for watching with your kids. A lot of good stuff there. And I want to thank you for coming on and joining me. Now what's he saying? It was nice to hang out with you. Hope to catch up with you soon. And that was great. Thank you very much. And it was nice meeting you. I mean, I've seen your stuff around and about, and I finally honed in on watching some of it, and I'm glad I did. So
yeah, appreciate it.
You have a great evening, everybody. I'll see you next week. You join us too next week, and it'll be an open mic, and we'll see how that goes, because everybody wants to come in at the first minute. Try to be patient. If you come in, you might have to wait for a while, but I'll get to you.
Yep.
I'll see you guys next week, Wednesday, 9 Central.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Good night. Stay there. Close and broadcast.